Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Mario with Motorcycle Knuckle Busters. And if you get a chance throughout this telecast here, go ahead and follow our page, like our page, because we're going to be bringing a lot of great content here and in the future. The attempt here is we're really trying to bring some great information, great guests, great people to you. All right, and we're going to do this for the long foreseeable future is what we're hoping for. So I got a really special guest tonight, a good friend of mine, somebody that I have the utmost respect for. And I know those of you that have met her and know her um, share my feelings. So let me introduce to you Marilyn Stemp.
Hello.
Hey, Marilyn,
Hi, Mario.
how are you? So where are we tonight?
Oh, I'm in North Carolina still. This is where I hang out in the winter because it gets a little too cold in Sturgis. So I'm one of those halfbacks, I run away and hide. But
Well, I can't say that I don't blame you for that. Some of our friends up there in Sturgis and Deadwood and everything, I see some of them pictures they're posting up there, and yeah, it gets very, very chilly. But I think you're going to be making a trip up there shortly, doing a little bit of planning for Sturgis 2022, huh?
oh, it is never too soon. Really, Woody at the Chip, they've always started planning really during the current rally or planning for the next one. And he starts every staff meeting with the rally countdown. It's
Yeah, I've
300
been amazed.
days.
I I've been amazed by Woody. He's having wrap-up meetings while Sturgis is going up for for that Sturgis rally and talking about next year, and he's already meeting people, planning the following year. So it's so much work all of you guys put into it, but I absolutely love it. But we didn't get on here to talk about the Chip and Sturgis. We got in here to talk about Strider bikes,
Oh, that's one of
and
my favorite topics, and I couldn't be happier that you invited me to talk about that. I just love it, and I really appreciate this opportunity.
well, I'll tell you, Marilyn, I've been around you and what you've been doing with the Strider bikes for some time, and I've been able to be a part of some of the functions, and I've immensely enjoyed them. And the best of all, I've got to see these bikes when they've gone up for auction at Mecum and seeing them sell. And to I've just loved the creativity of a lot of the different artists and everything else. But I think what I'd really like to hear from you first is let's talk about the Strider bike itself and where they're manufactured and about the company and their intent.
Yeah, Strider Bikes is located in Rapid City, South Dakota, which is really a very handy and convenient location when you consider that the rally is so close to that. Um, they aren't that old of a company, maybe 12 to 15 years, and their owner, Ryan McFarland's just a visionary. He was teaching his own sons to ride a bike and realized that if you took the pedals off the thing and took the whole concept of concentrating on pedaling away from the aspect of balancing yourself, that it would make it so much simpler. And so that was the whole concept behind the first little Strider bike. It was a balance bike, is what they call them. And the thought is, let's get kids just confident rolling around on two wheels. Then you can add the pedals, then you can add the complications. But it's a very logical stepped process that has proven to be a really easy way to get kids riding bikes.
And I know that to be true because actually this when I saw you in Las Vegas, we were talking to I was talking to a friend of ours, and they uh, they put two and two together with what you do with the Strider bikes, and I said, "Oh my God!" I said, "I got a Strider bike for my son. He started riding it, and then when we graduate to a bicycle, he goes, I didn't even have to teach him how to ride a bike."
Right, that's exactly right. It is a logical progression, and they have taken that concept at Strider um, such a step further with the foundation that they began a number of years ago, where they are essentially on a mission to teach every kid to learn how to ride a bike as part of kindergarten PE class. And Ryan learned, I guess, through research that so few children ride bicycles anymore. And it's just a function of kids being drawn away, by we're all on our cell phones all the time, we're on screens all the time, and children just weren't getting out doing um, independent, kind of confident building things like bike riding. I mean, for inner city kids, that's a totally foreign concept. They don't have the space, the wherewithal, to even approach the concept of riding a bike. So, I don't know about you, but a bicycle was my first vehicle. It's the thing I rode in the neighborhood. I couldn't wait to have that opportunity. All my older brothers and sisters were already doing it. It was a rite of passage. And it was my first vehicle that took me places that like nothing else could.
Exactly. And that's I'm glad you kind of mentioned that because for the motorcycle industry, that's why this is so vital. This is why this is so important because we're fueling the next generation.
Precise.
And the next generation is going to come from these kids that their origins in riding and learning came from the Strider bikes. So the whole mission behind it being, you've been in the motorcycle world for many years, and you have done so much to promote what we do that this is like, for you, a duck in water to be promoting this.
Absolutely, and that's why it was so easy for me to come on board with this whole concept that Strider was promoting. Because, if kids don't ride bicycles, they won't ride motorcycles. It's just a logical progression. If they don't even have a concept of their head of moving down the road on two wheels, I mean, if that never enters their consciousness, how will we ever get them on motorcycles? And, like you, I love motorcycling. We love this industry, and we love the many gifts it's given us. And I just I listened to people 5 to 7 years ago kind of whining about, oh, so few riders anymore. The number of riders are really dropping off. And, trying to do things like build a $15, $17, $20,000 bike as an entry level bike. That's crazy. You're not going to get somebody at 16 or 18 years old with that means to all of a
Sure.
sudden turn around and ride a motorcycle. So when people say to me, where are the new riders? I tell them, I think they're in kindergarten right now. And we
I
just
agree.
have a longer timeline on it. It's not going to happen tomorrow. Let's get them on bicycles now and bring them along.
So tell me about, there was a recent press release I saw about the program and putting bikes in out in California. So can you
Ah,
tell me a little bit about that?
yeah, that's fabulous. And it just occurred to me, I haven't even mentioned the name of the program. It's called All Kids Bike, allkidsbike.org. And it's
Allkidsbikes.org.
correct.
Okay.
And it's a program of the Strider Education Foundation, which is a 501c3 bona fide charitable organization. And that release that you're mentioning, gosh, that's a big thing that's been in the works for a while. The NASCAR Foundation has joined forces with All Kids Bike to bring at least 50 programs to the LA Unified School District. And last, I want to say November, we went out to put 3 pilot programs into the LA Unified. And that was an example of how it could go. We had a lot of administrators there. Some of the bigwigs turned up, and they watched how those little kids, I think it was Halloween weekend actually, those little kids jumped on those bikes and squealed with delight. I mean, you can't deny the impact of this kind of thing, when it happens. And, a lot of schools use them for both kindergarten and first graders. So you almost double the number of kids that you affect.
Sure.
And you can, if you maintain the bikes, can last up to 5 years of children coming through the program. So it has the opportunity to impact this particular program with 50 schools, just hundreds of thousands of children in Los Angeles. And,
So
every school, it has an opportunity here. It doesn't matter demographics. Every boy, every girl, every child learns to ride.
so speaking of that, I think didn't Todd Gilbertson do something in Wisconsin
Oh, he
with
did.
one of the schools up there?
You would imagine, I mean, you wouldn't be surprised, but people would be surprised to know the number of people in our industry, our friends, a lot of people we rubbed elbows with out in Vegas, who
Yeah.
have kind of quietly behind the scenes gone ahead and just covered their schools. Black Hills Harley Davidson covered Rapid City schools. Brian Clark at Clockworks took care of the
Yep.
Mitchell, South
He
Dakota.
did Mitchell. Yes.
My friend Jill Parham took care of the schools in Anamosa, Iowa. And these are the people that the program just speaks to them as it does to you and me. It just makes so much sense.
And the thing is, I mean, the names you just mentioned, Jill Parham, okay, Brian Clock. You start talking about these people, okay. You talk about Black Hills Harley Davidson. I mean, these these are people who have, that are so well known in the industry. I mean, Brian from the products that he produces, Joe Parham from her, and John, building up JP Cycles, being the monster that it is and everything else. And they recognize, along with you, how essential this is to fueling the industry in the future and riders, and keeping what we all love, passing that on to the next generation. I think that's a beautiful thing.
It is, and it's amazing. These are bikers do this. We something hits us as, we ought to do it. It feels right. It's necessary, and there's no hesitation there. People jump in.
Okay. So now tell people a little bit about, I mean, I know, we're going to talk about the auction a little, but let's talk about like the builder's breakfast. And I think you're going to be having you're going to actually be having another breakfast, and we're going to change gears slightly at that breakfast at Rossmeyer in Daytona. So tell me about that.
Oh, heavens. The whole builder's breakfast concept was something that started in the early to mid 2000s. I worked with my friend Darcy Betlack, mainly in Sturgis, but then eventually in Daytona as well, to bring the custom builders into one location. It was during the time of the biker build offs on Discovery Channel, where
Yes.
there was a really big cognizance of custom builders. People wanted to meet them, wanted to see them, and our idea was that if we got them all into one place, people would buy a ticket to come in and meet and greet, have a picture taken, get an autograph, and we could raise money for a good opportunity, a charity. And in
Sure.
those days, it was something like maybe the Make-A-Wish Foundation. When we went to Daytona, Rossmeyer's hosted us, and it was Bruce Rossmeyer's Boggy Creek charity for children. So
Okay.
that's where the whole thing started. And then, with the change in the industry in the late 2000s, we just stopped doing them. And then about 8 years ago, my friend Jeff Nager, he really kept kind of oh, bugging me to say that with love. And, let's do something, Marilyn, let's do something. And the only thing I could think was that, how much fun these builders' breakfasts had been. So we got the okay from the Buffalo Chip to have one there. This will be our 8th year in 2022. So I'm a word nerd, not a math person. So somebody can figure out when we started. But
Sure.
we did the first builder breakfast out there, started slowly, but the whole concept was to, again, bring the builders together, give people a chance to meet them, and raise money for a great cause. We started off giving scholarships to kids who were going direct to a trade school, because that seemed to really fuel the industry. Then we brought on motorcycle missions to address, the needs of our military and veterans. Crystal Hess with Motorcycle Missions has done a great job there.
Yeah,
Um,
she's a great gal.
Yes, for sure. And then I learned about All Kids Bike. It was just getting started then. And I had a call from Ryan McFarland saying they'd like to give us a little tiny bike to use at the auction, at the breakfast. We have a silent auction. And the next year he wanted to give us 6. And I thought, well, that's really, really generous. But what do I do with 6 of these little things? So while I was trying to decide, I called Rick Fairless and I said, Rick, if I sent you this little bicycle, would you, just mess with it? Just, I don't know, paint it, do something. He didn't hesitate a second. He said yes. And so did Dave and Jody Perowitz, and so did Paul Yaffe and Brian Fuller. And all of a sudden, I had all these builders who were going to customize these little bikes. And that's the origin of the concept of the Flying Piston Tiny Custom Striders. So it's just kind of morphed. 2 years ago, not 2 years ago, last year at this time, I was talking with Mandy and Shelley at Daytona
Yep.
Harley Davidson in Ormond Beach, and they said, well, you can have a builder breakfast here if you want. So we started one there last year, but the twist that you referred to is because they're a Harley Davidson dealer, yes, they do sell Strider bikes there, but they wanted to recognize the fact that they also sell the Harley Davidson Iron E, which is a little electric bike for children.
Yep.
with the help of the folks from Stasic who manufacture those, we were able to send out a handful of Stasic bikes to Evan Favaro and Chris Callan and Wendell Turner, Tabor Nash. I'm forgetting the last one. He's going to kill me, but you'll help me amend that, right? We can put some captions in or something. But
Well, we'll find some way to circle back around on that one. So, but yeah, and those are great builders and visionaries in our industry. So that's going to be very exciting. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they come up with. So,
yep.
lots of fun builds. I mean, it was pretty amazing because you graciously asked me to carry one of the bikes up during Mecum when I was out there, and my phone was blowing up afterwards, and people were messaging me and saying, "Hey, tell Marilyn I want to build a bike for her." And so I know there's people are lining up to build these, and that call to action. You just can't put a value on that. That these people, they desire to be a part of this, and what a beautiful thing you've built here. So I
And
want to cut.
there's nothing hard about it. You're right. People just call and they want to participate. It's been super simple.
Yeah, and a lot of fun, and you're right. I mean, there's been so many legendary builders, with Paul Yaffe, and and you take the Perowitzes and the Collins and all these people. Excuse me, they're just jumping in here, and they just chomping at the bit, and
I have
it's
a
a lot of fun to see.
I do indeed have a waiting list. So,
I
well,
know you do.
names to it, the ones that just called you.
Yeah, and it's funny because when they call me, I think they think I can say something to you, and I'm like, yeah, she's got a lot of people in the works and stuff, but she'll get to you. We'll talk about those names later and stuff, so I don't want to throw those out here. But
Okay.
so I want to talk about we just recently got done with Mecum,
Yeah.
and Mecum was a lot of fun. But what I first want to show is I want to kind of go back and show. I want to show a picture here of one of the previous years. And Marilyn, I got a kick out of this picture, and I got to tell you why. Because a lot of times I come the back way into the Buffalo Chip, and that there, the building behind you there is behind the bikes. There is it's the Upper Pleasant Valley School, and I don't
Absolutely.
think a lot of people. But I've taken a number of pictures through the years of that school with the different, with clouds behind and storms behind it and everything else. And I just thought, what a great backdrop. So in case you guys don't know, that school, if you're heading into the Chip, you'll see the upper. I think it's what's the road? Pleasant Valley School Road, right?
Yep, Pleasant Valley Road.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the bikes that are here. I mean, that was a good little lineup. So tell me about some of the bikes that are there.
Well, credit amazing photography by Sarah Liberty, of course, because she's just remarkable the way she can set the image and compose a photo.
Yeah,
So this
she's always willing to help.
totally her. Some of these bikes, let's see, this was the biggest class we ever had, and this was the 2019 class. Horny Mike did the one with the crazy bars in it, with some help from the guys from Counts Custom, Shannon and Ryan. In fact, Ryan pinstriped that at the Chip on the scene. So that
I
was,
remember that.
and then we had a red, white, and blue bagger. It actually had working bags that opened up. It's on the right side, just right of center there, by James Washnock. Eric Herman painted one for me. A longtime supporter of the Builder Breakfast, Steve's Reed from Steve's Garage, did one that he did some fancy kind of dipping process that
The
applied
Hydro Dip.
finish. That's the one with the red rim there.
Yep.
Devin did one with a complete fabricated tank, like a cafe racer, which was remarkable. I think, is that, oh, I'm having a hard time seeing these all on here, but of course the Jessi Combs bike stands up because I had asked Jessi the first year if she would build one for me, and she kind of hemmed and hawed. I think we were at the hand build show in Austin. She said, "Oh, I have so much going on, and I'd really like to, but I just can't this year. And then I saw her at Sturgis the next year after we released the bikes, the first class.
Yes.
Took me aside at the breakfast and she said, "You're going to ask me to do one next year. And I'm going to tell you I'm too busy. And you're going to tell me I have to do it." And so that's exactly what I did. And that little bike was the result of it. And at this time, that is the highest selling Tiny Strider custom we've ever.
Well, and let's bring up another picture here. So we're gonna get to Jessi's, but I got to tell you, so I know Lena did this one, okay, but
Actually, it's Rick's.
oh, that one was Rick's. I was thinking that was Lena's. I'm getting that mixed up. Okay, so it's Rick's. So my God, how do you not like anything that he built?
I know.
I see that, and I just absolutely love this bike. And here's the thing, so we talk about these bikes, and I think this illustrates to you that these builders take this serious. They go all out.
Yep.
And this is a perfect example of going all out. And I mean, and Rick just went crazy on this like he does with any of his stuff.
Yeah, he called me and said, "Hey, can I get some different wheels for that thing?" And I thought, "Well, what are you doing to it?" And then he started fabricating that whole crazy front end. He made the Z bars. That seat is cowhide, black and white cowhide.
Yep.
So yeah, he totally went overboard. And as I mentioned, he was the first person I called about this thing, and he knocked it out of the park.
Oh, he sure did. And I
Yeah.
think we've got some more pictures here to talk about. So this was here at Mecum recently. So this bike I love because it was built by a good friend of mine, Carl Pusser. But it wasn't just Carl; it was his granddaughter Jocelyn.
Yeah,
And
so
what a
wonderful. They sent little videos all through the process. She was
yep.
totally hands-on, participated completely in this thing, not just, advising and designing, but she helped him in the shop to work on this thing.
Yeah, and this was great because you see Steve Peel there from Kirsch Helmets, and Kirsch they also did a helmet that matched that bike and everything. So what a fun bike. And so I know Jocelyn and Carl both had a lot of fun building that bike. They really got into it, and
They
that's
actually there's a little thing on I think the rear swing arm, a little bit of just paint that says in memory of Pop, because Jocelyn's grandpa passed away during the time they were building this little bike, and she wanted to somehow memorialize him on it.
I did not know that. I am so glad you shared that with me. That just gave me chills. That's phenomenal. I absolutely love it. Now I think the next picture. I mean, who's the handsome guy there bringing that bike up?
Yeah, we recognize him, and he's got the Paco bike. That bike, the fabrication, well, you saw it up close. The fabrication
Yes,
was totally remarkable. Steve Massicott from Paco got a team together there. They completely fabricated the thing. He told me that he made the rear fender out of exhaust pipe tubing, that the radius was just right, that they could work a fender for this little thing. Fabricated the tank, and it's essentially patterned after Paco's 50th anniversary real chopper.
yeah,
So this is one of maybe 10 bikes so far that I have kind of a baby and a daddy, or a baby and a mommy,
right.
where someday I swear I'm going to get them all together and have one exhibit with the big littles.
I was thrilled to carry that thing up on stage because I absolutely love that bike. And then of course, when I saw the bike and I saw that Steve had put a cutout of the motor, which is actually the what we used for the prizes for our Schools Out Chopper show at Sturgis. So that that kind of touched my heart to see that they used it like that. So that was awesome.
For
So,
sure. Yeah, just remarkable in so many ways. Can you see the little tiny springer they built for it? I
yep.
mean,
Oh,
there's
they got the great Springer front end. It's got the and it's modified. I don't know. I haven't talked to Mondo, but that looks like a Denver Chopper's front end.
yeah, it does.
So I don't know if there was he was involved with that or not. So I'll have to ask him next time I talk to him. So we got another picture, and this is we're gonna come back to Jessi here. So Marilyn, I'll tell you this. There's been some really unique moments I've had at the Mecum auction to experience. And a couple of years ago, when they did the Chain of Mystery bike in Larry, and we were just talking about that the other night with the passing of CJ Allen. But here, this bike came up, and there was it had a lot of attention from a lot of people. Um, they were all focused on this bike because the last time I saw Jessi was at the Builders Breakfast in Sturgis, and then unfortunately we lost her, shortly thereafter. And here was this creation that she put her heart and soul into that really speaks, wonders about her and the person she was. So why don't you tell me a little bit about the bike? And I know you've talked to Jessi a lot about that bike and the build of the bike. And since she can't speak for herself, maybe you can kind of give us some insight.
Well, of course, she had already determined it would be a vintage style, and that's what she was going to do. And we hadn't really had anybody take that approach at that point. So it was unique in that regard. And I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that she was straight with me, that she was building it with, her significant other, Terry Madden. And it was a project that the two of them just took under their wing together as a totally fun thing to do in the shop together. So, it was just a experience that they had working on this little thing that was pure fun. And, Terry is very attached to this little bike because of that. It just
Sure.
meant the world to him. And in fact, when they had Jessi's memorial out at the Peterson Museum, we had that little bike in Sturgis at the time. It was after the rally, and it hadn't, of course, been time for Mecum yet. And so we made a box and we carried this thing on the flight and took it out and set it up at Jessi's memorial at the Peterson just for that.
That's wonderful.
And a lot of people got to see it there. And I think that meant a lot to Terry too, to have it. And you can see she had the little tiny leather helmet. We moved it for this particular photo, but Jessi had it hanging off the handlebar. Yep. And that badge on the very front of the neck has hers and Terry's initials on it and says Strider Custom serial number 1, just marking it as a moment in time.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful tribute, and the fact that I love the head badge, because any of us know that when you get into the old vintage bikes, be it bicycles or motorcycles, the head badges is that's very, very important to it.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a little story. When this bike was at auction, I get really nervous during the auction. I don't like to sit still, so I was sitting in the front row with Jill Parham on one side and Chris Summer Simmons on the other, and next to Chris was her husband Pat. And, I kind of knew both of my girlfriends wanted this little bike, and they kind of started bidding. And, like literally I'm sitting between two dear friends who both want this little bike. And Jill, actually, I'll tell you another story about her, but she has been a wonderful ambassador for the whole All Kids Bike program and is really getting quite a collection of tiny Strider bikes at the National Motorcycle Museum. But that particular day, she was thinking of adding this one to the stable. And then Pat finally bid to a point, where it was over the top. And so Jill stepped back and let him win it. But the good thing about that whole equation was that Chris and Pat were going back to Hawaii and couldn't take it with them. So right now, as we speak, Jessi's little bike sits for everyone to see in Anamosa, Iowa at the National Motorcycle Museum.
Well, isn't that wonderful? I was wondering if it was in Hawaii or where it was at. And so now you just answered that. So yeah, that was a special day. I think I was standing next, I was with Wayne Carini from Chasing Cars, and he said, well, they really want that bike. And he didn't understand the provenance of that. And then, so I told Wayne, about the bike and everything. And he says, oh, so he understood then.
And honestly, Chris and Jessi had been very close. The year before at the Biker Bells ride in Sturgis, they had kind of they're like, Chris is a big sister to Jessi, and they just had the most wonderful personal connection and conversation there in the room with a whole bunch of women riders looking on. And you could tell just how much, their relationship had grown over the years and how much they meant to each other. So Chris was, of course, emotional about wanting Jessi's bike, as hers. But it was also while that bidding was going on and we were nervous that she elbowed me and said, I know I've told you before I don't have time for this, but I'm building one of these for you next year. So
Wonderful.
that emotion blossomed into Chris building us a bike in 2020 that was patterned
Yes.
after her little cannonball bike, or her real
Yep.
cannonball bike.
Yeah, that was a great bike too. That was a great bike. So
Yeah.
so many wonderful bikes.
Yeah.
So wow, I just love some of the insights you gave me that I've not heard about this bike. So that's wonderful to hear. So
Yeah.
and
Great.
then what's that?
I said, there's so many great stories.
There absolutely is. So I want to show it, throw another picture up here. So this is kind of showing a lineup of bikes, just kind of giving people, the way they look. So, um, so we got the Flying Pistons, we got the Buffalo Chip, the different sponsors, but how do people tell people how they can learn more about the bikes, how they can purchase the bikes, how they can get involved?
Well, flyingpistonbenefit.com is our website. And if you go to that website, you'll find a tab at the top where you can look at all of these bikes and every little bike that we've had built by our builder friends so far. So we update them all and they're collected by year. And if you click on any of them, you can see expanded views and lots of images of each one of them. This is where Chris's bike turned up, of course, and then you can see there's Lena Fairless's bike. And actually, the
Yep,
people that bought Rick's bike a couple years before were darn determined to get Lena's bike too. So
that's right. I remember that now. I,
yeah,
I completely forgot about that. And Motorcycle Missions has a bike up there.
they do. They did two for us. The very first year they came on as one of our beneficiaries, and the second year as well. And the beautiful thing of that is that they get, the people in their program who come to learn skills, or the
Okay.
folks that actually built the bikes for us. So it gives them another opportunity to practice their skills and produce something that generates funds for not only their program, but for All Kids Bike as well.
Sure, and I see Joanne Bortles is up there. That's another person I'm a big fan of. She does great work.
And
So,
hers was patterned after her real shovelhead chopper. So that's another one of the big little combinations there. And Ashmore Ellis with Babes Ride Out, that's her bike on the far left.
yep,
And then the group from Women Riders Now did an amazing thing. So Erin Sills was the lead on that. She worked with Trish and Sarah. Um, that little bike has daisies all over it. And in the petals of the daisy are written several hundred names of pioneering women. And not just motorcycling women, but just pioneering women really in Western civilization. And it just begs you to look close and appreciate the people that have paved the way for women riders now.
that's what I love. That's a great tribute. I just love that. So, and then I want to bring up the next picture because I want to show people, what this kind of looks like. So, here's the bikes from this year.
Yes.
Okay, and this is how it looks. So now let's kind of explain to people if they want to purchase the bikes, they don't have to be there present on the floor at Mecum, do they?
And that's the beautiful part of this because, Mecum allows people to either bid online, um, let's see, by phone,
Yep.
in person. There are lots of ways you can bid. And this is how it looks on the website. These get posted about maybe 3 weeks before the auction actually happens. And you can go online and start the bidding right then if you're so inclined. And you can actually, Motor Trend TV ran the auction this year, so people could
Yes.
tune into that. And then Mecum live streams as well. So there's always a way to bid on these. And honestly, Mario, I have to tell you, we are so grateful to Mecum to have let us, have this amazing, remarkable, high-profile platform for these little bikes. It's just been there couldn't be a better place for them to be seen by so many people who appreciate the work that's gone into them.
I've gone to the auction a number of times, and it's kind of interesting watching. I always love walking around the paddock, at the Mecum auction because I like the fact that you see the restorers and the collectors, and you see this people from all over the world coming together, looking at stuff that you may never see again. And I've been really surprised and impressed by how many people check out the Strider bikes.
Yeah, they get a
They
really good viewing there.
they do extremely good. A lot of people come check them out. They're taking pictures. They enjoy them immensely, and rightfully so, because you talk about these bikes, and the work that goes into them. So let's talk about the 6 bikes this year, because
Oh,
we
good. I'm
just
glad
got
you're
done.
going to let me because, gosh, there's some great stories here too. So, first up is Diva Amy's bike, and that also is a mini me bike. That is
Yes,
like
it
a
is.
real road glide. It has hundreds of crystals that she put on one at a time by hand on her dining room table to the amazing sheet metal and fairing. And she put her little granddaughter on it and did some of the really the most fun advanced promotion we've ever seen with these little bikes. She had little granddaughter Violet riding this bike and posing on it. It was just fabulous.
Yeah, and she's so much fun. She's
Absolutely.
a character. She's so enjoyable. I got to know her even better this year at the Legends ride, and she's just a fun person to have in the room. That's for
Always
sure.
positive, always smiling, always bringing joy everywhere she goes. So that's
Absolutely.
the kind of person you want to be around.
So what other bikes would you like to talk about? I mean, I know we already hit on some of them, and
We've talked about Carl's and we've talked about Team Paco's. The John Shope bike, he actually had his 2 sons in the shop working with him on that and sent some video when that was in progress. They twisted part of the steering head and the seat post out of metal, and he built the tank on it, put a Dirty Bird Custom Concepts logo on it. So that one was pretty unique too. And this
yeah,
really,
that's a fun bike. I really like that one.
yeah. And then the mini Indian, of course, is Kiwi Mike Thomas of
Yep.
Indian Motorcycle, and that's just a beautiful gem. Of course, it's all made from steel, so that was one of the heavier bikes because he spared no expense on the tank and the sheet metal on that thing.
Kiwi Mike never does, and he's a great guy. I got to tell you, he showed up at the party with oranges,
Oh, right.
and those were the sweetest, juiciest oranges. And he says, "I got these picked off my tree, and I brought them to you." So that was a lot of fun. I got a kick out of that. And I'm like, you know what? I've always liked you, but I like you that much more because that was a great idea.
For sure. And then the sixth bike this year was actually the first time we've had a repeat, and I'll tell you about that. Kirk Taylor from Custom Design Studios built that bike for us in 2018, and he made it a tribute to Shirley Muldowney, the lady drag racer. Her
Yep.
nickname was Little Cha Cha. And so that was Kurt's idea. He was in the first class, and he built that bike for us, and it sold at auction. And somebody took it home and enjoyed it. Well, at Sturgis in 2021, a day or two before the rally began, my friends Mark and Mandy Halverson stopped over to visit and said, we've enjoyed our little tiny Strider, but we're downsizing and we really are just trying to share some things we've loved so other people can love them too. And we'd like to give it back to you and let you auction it all over again and raise even more money for All Kids Bike.
Oh, that's incredible. I did not know that.
So that's how that bike, it came back to us. We put it on display immediately in Sturgis that year and then brought it back for a repeat performance at Mecum.
So I kind of want to wrap up, and we're getting close, but I want to talk about Jill Parham.
Oh yeah, I have to tell you, she has such a collection of tiny Striders now. We're going to have to probably make more room in the museum for them. She has Gilby's long chopper. She has Chris Summer Simmons Cannonball
Yep.
bike, Jessi's bike, and then she bought Diva Amy's, Carl Pusser's, Kiwi Mike's, and help me, one more from this year that I just saw and I'm blanking on.
Did she buy the Paco bike?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So she has this. She's a national ambassador for the Strider program, for the All Kids Bike program, and I don't think anyone has done more than she has to support this program. In addition to just covering the school, the way she continues to, on a different way, a completely different way to buy these little bikes, make them available for people to view, and expand the program's reach by their appearance in a national motorcycle museum. I mean, I just can't thank her enough for everything she's done to keep this fresh and healthy and just be so generous.
Well, Marilyn, I think you two are a dynamic duo when it comes to doing this. And, you know, you would never take credit, but I got to tell you what, this happens because of your energy, because of the way you connect people, the way you're a visionary and you always have been. And you've taken something that seemed very basic to start with, and it has blossomed into a beautiful thing. And you recognized a good thing when you saw it, and you've made it work. And I believe I'm speaking for all of us when I say you've done a great job, and we really appreciate you being the ambassador that you've always been, from being a publisher, writer, photographer, and everything else you've done in the industry. But what you're doing now, I mean, I sincerely appreciate it, because I have grandchildren now. I've got kids, that are raising little ones, and they're going to be on Strider bikes, and they're going to be doing this, and they wouldn't know about all of this if you weren't the ambassador that you are, bringing this to the forefront for all of us to know about it.
Well, it's really kind of you to say, and I appreciate it so much. But just know that this is just pure joy for me to do this. It's so much fun, and it's just a matter of things aligning. Right time, right place, and we're just
Fantastic.
moving it forward.
So you're going to be off and running. You're going to be in Daytona soon. So where are you going to be, and when's the Builders Breakfast, and how can they get their tickets? Let's
Oh,
wrap up with
yes.
that.
They can go to Bruce Rossmeyer's Harley Davidson website. Bruce Rossmeyer Daytona Harley Davidson is the proper name. Just go to their website. You can click through and get a ticket right there. Just $20 now, $25 at the door. You can also click through to tickets from flyingpistonbenefit.com.
Okay.
That's right on the main page to click through to there. And we would love to have everybody come out and see these new little Iron E's unveiled. Ooh, the Iron E builders. We have Corey Ness, Rusty Wallace, Skidmark Garage with Brian Shaffrin, and
Yep.
Gene Woods and Open Road Radio. So we've got a really awesome collection of builders coming to unveil their bikes there. And Rusty, I just talked to him today. He promised me that he and Steven are going to ride in on their real heavy duty, big loud baggers and make a big fuss.
Wonderful. So, and for those of you, so I mean, there's a great opportunity to meet some wonderful people. I can tell you, Rusty is a great guy. He's very personal, loves everybody. So just down to earth, and everybody you mentioned, all down to earth, wonderful people. So it's a great time to be able to mingle with these people. But there's people that you're going to meet there that maybe not as notable, but every bit as capable and interesting. And it's just always a great group of people. And I've always enjoyed the breakfasts I've been involved in, and enjoyed immensely. So I hope you guys are going to be updated.
We follow up immediately with John O'Brien's performance show. His group comes in and dovetails with us, so you can stay for another fabulous bike show too.
So it sounds like a good time. What day is that now?
That is Sunday, March 6th.
Sunday, March 6th. All
9
right.
in the morning, and then we wrap up at 11:30 and roll right into all the other fun that happens at Destination Daytona.
Wonderful. Well, Marilyn, thank you so much for coming on and telling us about everything. And I hope you guys will all jump on and check out what Marilyn's doing, and check out the Strider bikes and everything they're trying to accomplish there. And like I said, if you get a chance, like our page, Motorcycle Knuckle Busters, because we are going to continue to bring you interviews with great people like Marilyn. Thank you, Marilyn.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Okay, bye-bye.